So round one of the NFL draft is finally over, and I have to tell you guys what's going on. Got the Disney shirt in here. I'm currently on vacation towards Disney World, so I'm not able to upload this. That's why you guys are getting it today instead of last Thursday. But as of right now, the recording of this is Friday morning. This is my raw reaction of the first round, even though you guys are seeing this on Monday. So it's just, you know, it's really my raw reaction, but you guys are getting the video late because I'm on vacation and you're just gonna have to deal with it. I guess it is what it is. But look, I've got my notes all right here on my clipboard that I write down during the NFL draft. So I'm gonna kind of review over here. Only the fantasy relevant players is who I'm going over. And we already know the #1 pick in the draft ended up being Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans, right? So he's gonna be the starting quarterback, unquestioned. Will Levis is no longer gonna be the quarterback over there. They ended up getting Tyler Lockett in free agency. They ended up signing this guy. They already have Calvin Ridley as well. So it should be a nice air attack, and he's already been on record saying Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard are the best running backs in the whole NFL, which is, I think, is cockadoodle, but he tilted his hand. We all knew Cam Ward was going over #1. As far as fantasy football goes, I think he could be a good option. You know, if you're going, you know, a late round quarterback, not getting one of these super stud guys, take a chance on Cam Ward. He might be able to give you some fantasy points. I like myself Cam Ward going over there to the Titans. He might be able to change everything over. So I got #2. That's where we had the big trade. The Browns ended up trading down. Some people thought Shedeur Sanders was going to go over there. He ended up not going in the first round at all, but we'll kind of go over that a little bit of a shocker for me. But the Browns trade down from 2 to 5. They trade over there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars got the second pick and they got a fourth. They ended up doing the fourth round swaps in the 6th round. The Browns ended up getting a little bit of a haul themselves. They only had to fall back just a couple spots over there to 5. They picked up another 2nd round pick. They picked up another 4th round pick, and they also got a 1st round in 2026. Now they have 2 1st round picks next year. They really set themselves up good, and knowing that they didn't want Shedeur Sanders, they were still able to get their guy a couple picks later. So I really like that. But the Jaguars ended up taking Travis Hunter, right? Travis Hunter came out and he said, hey, look, I want to make sure if I'm not playing both ways, I'm not going to play football, right? And the Jaguar says, you know what, we're trying to make a revolutionary change in the NFL. We're going to go ahead and grab this guy, and he's going to play both sides of the ball. But what does that look like for fantasy football? I would just caution you guys on drafting this guy, especially high, right? So is it going to be like a 60-40 split? And if that's the case, it's a 60-40 split which way? We don't know if he's going to play most of his snaps on offense or most of his snaps on defense. But one thing I know for sure, he's not going to play all the snaps on offense and all the snaps on defense. There's too much to know, too much to learn, and I just don't think we just haven't seen it, right? We've seen spurts from others being Deion Sanders or whatnot who playing both sides of the ball. Travis Hunter, we'll have to wait and see. His skill set's through the roof. He can catch the football. He's up in the 90th percent of catch rate from wide receivers in all of his whole college football career. So he can get it done. We'll just have to see if he can make it happen with the Jaguars offense. They featured already Brian Thomas, the rookie they got from LSU last year. And then they got Trevor Lawrence, right? He was supposed to be the king dingling, right? But he hasn't done anything as of right now to show us that he belongs being drafted so highly as Trevor Lawrence did. So he got himself another tool, another weapon to make this offense kind of grow. We already know Brian Thomas Jr. is the main head honcho there at wide receiver. Travis Hunter going to be a little bit of a tool, but I would say, hey, look, just be a little cautious. #1, I'm not fond of the Jaguars offense anyway right now. And #2, we don't know how many snaps Travis Hunter's actually going to play. So it's going to be a little bit different. So, but we're going to move right along here. We're going down the next fantasy relevant player. We're going to say is going to be at #6. The Raiders take Ashton Jeanty. They need themselves another running back, right? And you know, right here, Pete Carroll, right? I have it written down that Pete Carroll liked Marshawn Lynch at the running. He loves running the football. He needs himself a Marshawn Lynch. Well, look at Ashton Jeanty. He's another version of a big guy who likes to just run the football. It's very hard to bring down, very high break tackle rate in college football. People just bounce off of him. So this could be a really good fantasy option. I think as of right now, how the draft laid out, he's probably my #1 option for fantasy football in this first round as of right now. And then I'd probably put Cam Ward after him as well. So let's move right along here. At #8, the Panthers take Ted McMillan, the big 6'5" wide receiver out of Arizona. Now this is one of those guys, he just has trouble breaking away from press coverage. Very good in contested catch rate. But is it because he had to have contested catch? He's a big body wide receiver. Now they really got themselves an option on the other side of of Xavier Legette. But look, I've told you guys before, Bryce Young, I'm really not crazy about this guy. I wasn't crazy about him when he came out of University of Alabama. I told you guys not to draft him. He was cock-a-doodle. Now you look at him right now, he's got Xavier Legette, didn't do anything. Actually trash. He was benched for some of the season in favor for Andy Dalton. Ended up coming back, played a lot better down the stretch. But now they're giving him even more weapons. So now you got Xavier Legette on one side, you got Ted McMillan on the other side. Let's see if Bryce Young can continue to develop. I'm just saying, for me, I think Ted McMillan's value decreased just having Bryce Young throwing him the football, because I just don't think that's fantasy relevant for you. So I would say stay away from Ted McMillan, because I think his ADP is going to be a little bit higher than what you want. So move right along here. At number 10, the Bears, in my eyes, take a shocking pick in Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. We all thought that Tyler Warren was going to be the number 1 tight end picked here. But look, Colston Loveland, they've already got Cole Kmet there. They're just getting more weapons for the young quarterback in Caleb Williams, right? Romo Dunze's on the outside, who's nice and young, kind of growing with the situation. Now you got a nice young tight end, Colston Loveland, very athletic type of guy who can catch the football and run down the field, right? It's very odd to have a tight end at his stature, right? 6'5", 6'6", can get out there and do it from the short, intermediate, and the long routes there. So he can get it done. Colston Loveland, again, one of those tight ends I would stay away from just based off of ADP right now. It's between both of them, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. I would not be drafting myself a rookie tight end from this class right now, because we're going to step right next to the very next pick was Tyler Warren, number 14 out of the Colts. Tyler Warren, I love this guy, right? But now he's going to an offense that's headed over there by either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. These are not somebody that you want to go and have, just hang your hat on fantasy football wise. Tyler Warren's going to be overdrafted, right? But Anthony Richardson can't hit the broadside of a barn with a football. He's just a very inaccurate quarterback. And you have somebody like Tyler Warren who has a very large catch radius. It still doesn't mean it's going to work very well. So I would just stay away from these guys. I think that I love their talent level, but as far as their rookie season goes, I'm not drafting any of these tight ends. And I know what you guys are saying is like, hey, look, 2 years ago, we had Sam Laporta. He was the number 1 tight end in football as a rookie. Last year, we got Brock Bowers, number 1 tight end in football as a rookie. The trend will not continue. This year, you're not going to have a number 1 tight end in fantasy football as a rookie tight end this season. Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, both the guys I won't be drafting on my fantasy team. So move right along here. At 19, a shocker for me, the Buccaneers take Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now, the question that I have, look, you got Mike Evans. He's long in the tooth. He won't be too long before he's out the door. They re-signed Chris Godwin this offseason after had a gruesome injury last season, right? You guys ended up going over there with Jalen McMillan also. He's a young wide receiver. So why would you need Emeka Egbuka? Are you just trying to fluff everything else? Maybe trying to have a safety blanket in case Chris Godwin isn't what we think he is? Now, don't get me wrong. Emeka Egbuka did great as a slot wide receiver at Ohio State. Did really good. Good possession wide receiver. Good in his route running as well. But I just think there was higher needs for the Buccaneers to handle. But with that given said, if Egbuka gets a lot of reps in this Buccaneers offense with Baker Mayfield throwing the football, I think he could be very good and fantasy relevant for this. So I think that he could be a good option. I'll just have to wait and see how they utilize him. And if getting at a good ADP, I would like to grab myself some Emeka Egbuka myself. So move right along here. At number 22, we've got the Chargers. They're taking Omarion Hampton, the running back out of UNC. Very kind of a head scratcher, right? Omarion Hampton was one of my favorite running backs coming out of college football, but they just grabbed Najee Harris, and he's a beast. He was one of those 1,000 yards in the first 4 seasons he's been in the NFL. Now you're getting a big piece, like Omarion Hampton in the first round. How does that work? Well, look, Jim Harbaugh, he likes running the football. We know he likes running the football. So now you got a 2-headed monster. I was super excited. Najee Harris was a big sleeper for me in 2025. Now you have to kind of just reel the reins back just a little bit, because Najee Harris will be splitting the workload with Omarion Hampton. And I think it's going to be a nice tandem. It's going to be more of what you saw last season when you saw J.K. Dobbins and you saw Gus Edwards splitting the rock. Even though J.K. Dobbins had the bulk and he was kind of the main guy, I think that's what you're going to really see. I think you still get 1,000 yards from Najee Harris. I'm not writing him off whatsoever, but I think people are going to way overdraft Omarion Hampton. And I think as long as Najee Harris is there on the football team, Omarion Hampton is not going to be that stud that everybody thinks he's going to be as far as for fantasy football. For Dynasty, I think Omarion Hampton could be a nice pick, but just a warning, you might wait a year or two before he becomes the bell cow for this offense and becomes the man. So move right along here. We're going to number 23 with the Packers take a wide receiver. Finally, they take Matthew Golden, the fast wide receiver out of Texas, ran a 3.940 at the combine, did really well, right? He was starting to produce. He was starting to develop a lot better in college as the years started to roll on, right? I think he is a good option for them because let's just face it, right? Christian Watson, he was drafted to be the number 1 guy there. He didn't do anything. He was injured all the time. I told you guys, stay away from him. Everybody's like, Sleeper, Christian Watson. I told y'all not to take Christian Watson. And what happened? What happened? Exactly what I told you guys. Stay away from the guy. Jaden Reed, he fell off. Where did he go? He's probably the best wide receiver in this offense. Romeo Dubes, very consistent when he's healthy and on the field. Dontavian Wicks, another guy, came on really strong in 2024, had an okay 2025, but he wasn't really utilized as much. Now you bring in somebody like Matthew Golden, just another wide receiver in the pot here. So it's like, what you gonna do with Jordan Love? He's got so many receivers to pass to, not including the 2 tight ends they got just a couple years ago, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. They've got a lot of weapons. They got to put it all together. Josh Jacobs in the backfield as well. The offense is potent. If they can build up this defense and everybody can stay healthy, the Packers could be a force to be reckoned with. Depending on where he lands as this final depth chart will be dependent on where I place him as far as ADP goes for Matthew Golden. All right, so last but not least, the last thing that we need to go over as far as fantasy relevance goes, we're talking about the Giants, right? The Giants end up taking Jackson Dart, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. They trade with the Texans, right? They give up this trade. The Texans, they receive a second and a third this year and a third in 2026. And the Giants just got this pick at 25, but they get their quarterback, right? And which leaves a huge head scratcher of Shedeur Sanders. Why was Shedeur Sanders not taken in the draft? Well, look, he doesn't have a very strong arm. His decision-making is questionable when it comes to me. A lot of people say, well, he had a cockadoodle offensive line. I understand that. But whenever he did have some good protection and he needed to throw the football away, he didn't, because he wants to make the big play. He wants to kind of be the showboat guy, right? You put that, and then maybe the attitude's a little bit in there, right? Is he saying that, hey, I'm too good? He's talking about all the stuff. His dad is Sanders himself, right? So he loves to be hated at this point. Where does he go in the draft, right? Who knows? But Jackson Dart, he's got the mobility, he's got the accuracy. He was probably one of my highest rated quarterbacks in this draft. I had a number 2 behind Cam Ward. I think Jackson Dart might even be my favorite as far as it goes down to the heart. And it wouldn't surprise me in 5 years if Jackson Dart was the number 1 quarterback in this entire draft class. It wouldn't shock me one bit to see that happen. But look, Jackson Dart is now a New York Giant, gonna go over there with Malik Neighbors and really show out. But look, some questions, some head scratches. We went over it already just a little bit. Shedeur Sanders, right? He didn't get taken in the first round. Maybe that humbles the guy. Maybe that's the best thing that possibly could have happened, because look, you got the Browns, who's picking 2 times at the top of the draft. You've got the Raiders. Do the Raiders take a shot? He's got a little bit of a linkage there with the Raiders, even though they just got Geno Smith, and he's probably going to be there for maybe 2 to 3 years. But Shedeur Sanders really wants to develop, so they have to sit back. If Shedeur wants to play now, the Raiders, there's no need to take Shedeur Sanders. But then where does he go after that? Maybe the New Orleans Saints. They probably maybe get him because Derek Carr, that situation is not good. And if they really don't believe that Spencer Rattler is the next guy to come in there and be the man for them, then maybe they take a chance on Shedeur Sanders if he drops to them in the second round, guys. But look, that is my first round reaction. I can't wait for tonight. We're going to go over the second and third round. I have my notes, and then we'll do another video on that. You guys might be able to see that tomorrow or the next day, depending on when I can edit that. Because again, I am on vacation. I'm over here at Disney World, so I'm trying to do, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, having fun with the family while also making sure I'm pumping out content for you guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're pumping out so many videos each and every week to help you for the best dominate your league and ultimately win the championship. I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.